We still talk about Chinese AI as if it's a cheap imitation playing catch-up. That view is dangerously out of date. While Western markets debate if chatbots should write novels or replace therapists, companies in China are already using their models to automate factory floors and churn through thousands of legal contracts for pennies. This is a deliberate national strategy called digital dumping, flooding the market with world-class computational capabilities at artificially slashed prices to force global adoption. This chart tracks API pricing over 12 months. Western models hold steady at the top, while Chinese entrants plummet toward zero. Look at ByteDance's Doubao, processing 1 million tokens for 11 cents, a 200 times price drop. The math on those margins does not work for a standalone software business. It only makes sense as a hook designed to capture your operational dependency. If you are a business leader running infrastructure on OpenAI or Google, you are burning a massive amount of cash on compute. For startups and content factories, the lure of cutting those costs by 99% is almost impossible to ignore. You can instantly scale your volume without scaling your budget. But if you operate in a strict corporate environment, that desire for cheap scale collides immediately with data sovereignty laws and compliance requirements. The real cost of these models is hidden in the ecosystem. Platforms like Baidu's Qwen or ByteDance's Volcano engine are structured to create vendor lock-in the moment your data starts flowing through their pipes. Once you migrate your infrastructure and rely on their endpoints, those closed ecosystems have the leverage to change their tariffs or restrict your access entirely without warning. The trade-off is direct. Capturing these cost savings requires a compromise on guaranteed data privacy and operational stability. To navigate this, we need to split these tools by their actual utility, starting with the generalists. These are models built purely for volume and broad digital tasks. Baidu's ERNIE and ByteDance's Doubao are the heavyweights dominating this specific category. This matrix details exactly where they fit. When you route mass content creation, basic workflow automation, and generic marketing tasks into ERNIE or Doubao, you get incredible efficiency. You achieve near infinite scaling capabilities for your non-critical operations, paying fractions of a cent per request compared to Western alternatives. But look at the risk column. Your operational data is processed inside closed, localized Chinese cloud environments. These models are unmatched engines for generic automation, but they are toxic for proprietary or secret workflows. Then we have the second category, the specialists. These models are engineered to rival GPT-4 in solving complex, niche problems. Looking back at our matrix, DeepSeek R1 emerges as the premier option for advanced mathematical reasoning and deep coding logic. Right below it is Moonshot's Kimi, the champion of context. It can ingest massive documents exceeding 200,000 tokens in a single prompt. In practice, this means you can run deep legal document analysis or complex logical sequencing with results that match top-tier models from the US. But here is the catch. As the risk column shows, these tools come with deeply confusing commercial licenses, heavy access restrictions outside of Asia, and almost zero English documentation. They offer elite, highly specialized performance, but their ambiguous legal frameworks make them perilous to weave into an official, compliant enterprise stack. All of this brings us to the absolute red line of AI integration: processing personally identifiable information, or PII. If you feed client PDFs or sensitive proprietary data into these endpoints, you run an immediate, severe risk of violating GDPR or your local compliance laws. You also cannot rely on self-reported benchmarking. Provider claims of security and performance mean nothing until you test them internally with your own sanitized data. Beyond privacy, there is a hard geopolitical reality. Your API access could be blocked overnight or disappear entirely due to sudden international sanctions. Saving 90% on your compute bill is completely irrelevant if regulatory fines, data leaks, or a sudden blackout destroys your business. Let's map exactly how to apply these tools to your operations based on your data type. This flowchart starts with the absolute disqualifier. If you are processing healthcare, legal, or regulated financial data, follow the red line. Avoid the Chinese APIs entirely and stick to Western or local open source models. If your answer is no and you run a high-volume, low-risk operation, like a content startup or an edtech platform prioritizing budget, route straight to generalist models like Doubao or ERNIE. For engineering teams where logic and math are the priority, route to DeepSeek. And for research teams that need to quickly sort massive documents, route to Kimi. Identifying the precise nature of your data and your exact operational bottleneck is the only safe way to select one of these models. If you are ready to test these models without exposing your core operations, you need to run a bake-off penlet. This means setting up a multi-model architecture and pushing only sanitized, non-sensitive data prompts through the different APIs to compare actual performance. As this architectural diagram shows, you must build an automatic failover switch. If the primary API drops or gets blocked, the system instantly reroutes the request back to OpenAI or Google so your product stays live. Before you push a single real workflow through, execute your legal diligence. Negotiate strict no-training clauses so your business data isn't used to make their models smarter. Keep in mind that using smaller, cheaper models requires much tighter prompt engineering on your end to keep the output accurate. Build a cold, calculated architecture that prioritizes flexibility over blind cost-cutting to safely exploit this massive financial leverage.